Hey folks, I'm Dave Ramsey of The Dave Ramsey Show. Joining me is Chris Hogan, Ramsey personality and #1 best-selling author a couple of times over. I do a talk radio show, if you don't know, called The Dave Ramsey Show. It's heard by between 15 and 20 million people every day between our podcasts and our radio stations that carry us. Been running my own business from a card table on my living room for many decades now. And so when we hit a weird time like we're in right now, the coronavirus has turned our world upside down, and the coronavirus shutdowns have turned some of you business people's world upside down. You've got teams working from home for the first time ever. Some of you have seen revenue come to a complete screeching halt. Some of you are having to make some really tough decisions. And the first thing I want to tell you tonight is this. I've been doing this business thing for 30 plus years. And I've been doing the personal finance thing for that time as well. I've watched a lot of things happen. A lot of things come and go. And I want you to be assured that you're going to be okay. Your business may shrink. You may even close it. And you may reopen it another day, another way. Or you may move on to something else. But you are going to be okay. You're going to be okay. My friend Dr. John Deloney, newly minted Ramsey personality, says that when you're in a crisis, facts are your friends. And what the human brain tends to do is we tend to project into the future what's going to happen. We try to predict the future. And in times like this, we tend to predict it negatively. And you need to remember what the facts are in your situation today. I know this. I know at Ramsey Solutions, we started this business on a card table in my living room about 30 years ago. About 20 years ago, we started teaching small businesses how we run this business and how we've grown it from a card table in our living room to a major national brand with a couple of $100 million in revenue and 1,000 employees right now, 1,000 team members right now, which are working from home, by the way. We're working with a skeleton crew in the building right now, just trying to continue to produce things like this particular piece of content. So we wrote a book called Entre Leadership many years ago on how we run our business, and that's become a brand. It was a #1 best-selling book and continues to sell very well. It's our playbook. And so, Chris, when we're talking about leadership and business around Ramsey under the Entre Leadership brand, we're not talking theory.
No.
We do the stuff every day.
That's right.
Some of the things we're going to talk about in our time together, I've actually been engaged in this week as the CEO. We are practitioners. We are not professors in a classroom who have never made a payroll.
No. And this is very real. And looking at this, Dave, the thing that you and the leadership team here has exemplified is the importance of people and the importance of communication. And as we look to serve, our goal is to be clear and to make sure people understand they have options and hope is available. And even though things get rough and things get murky, we still have to hold on to those principles, Dave, because they're tried and true.
Absolutely. Well, we've got really kind of 3 categories of business. Some of your businesses out there are in the midst of this crisis. It's the best time you've ever had. Your business is exploding. You're having trouble hiring. You're having trouble delivering because people want what you have so fast you can't get it to them. And there are businesses out there having a hiring crisis, believe it or not, right now. And it's going to be the best time of your life financially. Congratulations. But you got to pivot to take advantage of those situations because it's a sudden change in the marketplace. We've got businesses kind of in the middle. I call them the Goldilocks area, meaning the porridge is just right. It's right in the middle. There's nothing really bad happening, but there's nothing really good happening, and we don't know what another month of shutdown or another 3 weeks or 2 weeks of shutdown is going to look like. We don't know whether our revenues are going to turn down. That's kind of where we fall right now.
Yeah.
Our revenues haven't turned down, but just a little bit right now. But if they do, we've got to have plans for that, and if they don't, we've got to have not overreacted and oversteered to cause problems. And then the last type of business is the business that's gotten hammered. Some of you have businesses like restaurants, as an example, and bars, and you're completely closed by mandate of the government. You're in the travel industry, and you're completely closed. You're in the fill in the blank industry, and you are completely closed, and you've had to make some really tough decisions about furloughs and layoffs, and you're worried about your people, and you're facing all of those kinds of things. So there's really all kinds of people that we're talking to tonight. And what you need to remember is this: small business that we work with at Entre Leadership represents 54% of the gross domestic product. Small business is the American economy.
It really is, Dave. And it's the backbone. And people don't understand that not only are you providing services to your clients and to your customers, but you also provide services to your team. And this is a lot of pressure. And right now, with things being unknown, it's really important that we go back to really some foundational pieces of you as a leader.
Yeah, and here's the thing: 78% of the new jobs were created by small business in the last decade. And so the small businesses that are being destroyed by this coronavirus shutdown, it's devastating to the economy. It's devastating to the men and women whose dream it was. And hey, we understand. Some of you are walking around with your stomach in your throat. Some of you are walking around trying to figure out a way to provide medical supplies, and you're in a boom time. And so there's all kinds of different things we're addressing here. Now, there's really 4 categories that we look at Ramsey as practitioners, and we're going to suggest you look at as well when we're trying to analyze where we are with these things. The first area, obviously, is you have to manage the financials of the business. You have to ascertain what the revenue set is. Is the revenue spiking up because you're in one of these super hot businesses? I mean, if you're delivering masks right now, goodness gracious, you're going crazy, right? Is the revenue just disappeared because you're in a restaurant and it just closed? You got a little bit of drive-through business, or you're selling steaks out the back door legally, or whatever, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got some level of revenue or almost no revenue, or are you kind of in that middle area on the revenue? And deal with the reality of that. You can anticipate what you will do if it turns down, but don't make decisions based on the fact that it's turned down when it hasn't yet, because you're not 100% sure exactly what's going to happen out there. You're dealing with a time of great uncertainty. And then the second thing we've done here is we've managed the other side of the equation, which is the expense side of the equation. And we haven't gone crazy. We haven't not paid our bills or something like that. We're paying the proper people that are owed, or kept all of our payroll so far. Remember, Ramsey, we're right in the middle of the thing. It's not super great, not super bad, but right in the middle with all the uncertainty. So we're preserving as much cash as we can. Obviously, travel has been shut down temporarily. That saved us a bunch of money. What else can we shut down temporarily that's not generating immediate revenue? Because immediate revenue is going to equal a lot of profit right now, and we need that pile of cash for survival and to turn the corner when we come out of this thing. So you're preserving cash any way you can. Now, here's the thing. You cannot function in panic. My friend Art Laffer says that when people are panicked or when they're drunk, they make bad decisions. And, I've been scared before, and I've been very emotional before, angry before, and in neither case do I make good decisions in that. And so the second piece of it is, Chris, and this is something we talk about a lot. Well, the second piece is pretty quick. It's the new legal. You have to watch the legality of the thing. Yeah. They're passing HR bills out of Washington on how you're supposed to treat people at certain size of companies, what you have to do, what you don't have to do. Be careful of that minefield. Don't walk through there and step on something. And you can investigate some of the stuff from the stimulus package, but honestly, the loans are SBA loans, which represents 2 real problems. Number one is you're borrowing money. I know they say they're going to forgive it, but they said they were going to forgive the student loans too, under certain scenarios. And that has not happened. And the second problem is the SBA is basically the DMV of the federal government. They're the most inefficient, cumbersome group of people. And for them to actually be able to make a loan and get it to you, by the time that happens, if you needed money today, you're probably gone. And so don't use borrowed money, and don't look to the government to solve your problems. I personally will be solving my problems with no borrowed money, and we will not be waiting on the government to save us, because they never do. We will be doing what entrepreneurs do best, and that is problem solve.
Absolutely, Dave. And not only that, but you're digging in. And as you mentioned, the non-essential expenses must be negated. And this is really important, and this requires you to not be emotional, but to be clear and to understand the importance of this decision. Also, you want to make sure that you're not leading alone. You need to lean in with your next level of leaders to be able to talk about these things, to be able to brainstorm so you can collaborate.
Yeah, so we did stuff like we have a profit sharing program that we communicate a lot with our team about. We told them we're not sharing profits. We're going to pile that pile of cash up. If it's still there later, then we'll share it. But for right now, we're going to use it to protect you, our team, from losing their jobs. We would stop the 401k match. We're not all worried about the future of your retirement today. We're worried about your job today. We're trying to protect that. So we're preserving cash. Anything we can do to shut down these things that are just kind of a normal course of business, but they add up to a lot of money
It really
if you
does.
watch what you're doing with it.
It is. And Dave, another area that you've really been talking about to all of us is right now teams need a leader. And that leader has got to step up. And you've got to have the courage to make some tough decisions, some important decisions because they matter.
You know, my friend Jim Collins, who wrote the book Good to Great, he says that people can handle bad news. What they can handle is not knowing. Ambiguity is a huge stress inducer for people. And if your folks don't know what's going on because you haven't communicated, over-communicated, triple over-communicated with them as a leader, then they are immediately going to assume the worst. And so your job as leader is not to add drama. Your job is to remove drama. You're the syringe. You pull drama out of the situation. Bring it down. Slow your voice tone down. You're not a beagle chasing a rabbit. When stress comes out in the speed of your cadence, when stress comes out and your octaves going up, when stress comes out and it's obvious you are freaked out, you're going to freak your team out. So breathe. Leadership requires calm, deliberate, careful communication and wise actions. Leaders are not leaders are not created during times like this, they're exposed. In our leadership team, we've got 1,000 people. So our leadership team, the first layer of leadership consists of about 200 people. In the last 10 days, I've already seen some of our young leaders that I honestly hardly knew who they were. They were young in our pipeline, step up and do some stuff and pivot and create some things in the middle of this. And they exposed how high of a quality of a leader they are. That's going to mean opportunity for them later. We've also had a couple expose how they aren't leaders.
Yeah.
During this time.
I can tell you this, Dave. I've had an opportunity to be with you for 15 years, and I know you're an excellent communicator, and I've seen you walk through and share information. During this time, you have been crystal clear and almost to the fact of over-communicating, helping us all to understand exactly where we are, but also where we're going. And that level of communication has created a calm in us for us to be clear, to be steady. Why? Because we're following our leader. And so it's really important for you to have that level of calm, that level of clarity, but also assuredness. You've walked through some stuff before. You've been in some battles. And I think it's important for your team to see you have a resolve like never before.
And it's not a cockiness, but there is a swagger to it. There's this thing of, we got this. And I don't know. And people can handle bad news. They can handle bad news. What they can't handle is no news. When they don't know what's going on, we call it mushroom communication.
Yes.
Keep them in the dark and feed them manure. And that's what most people do. And then they surprise you. I've told my team over and over in the past 3 weeks, one thing I will not do is surprise you. Whatever the news is, we will face it together. We will walk through it together. And no matter how good it is or how bad it is, and they know what's going on, exactly what's going on. Don't have any secrets. And if you don't like the news, you're welcome to leave, and we'll preserve the cash that used to be your payroll for someone else. It's okay. But we're going to over-communicate. It's a little bit dangerous.
It is.
To do that because people use it against you sometimes. Sometimes they misunderstand you. But 100% of the time that you don't lead with calmness and that you under-communicate in times like this, 100% of the time you have a problem with your team immediately. And you have a problem getting them to move in a direction that'll cause your organization to be sustained.
Absolutely. And so it's imperative not only for you as the leader to be calm, but to make sure that your leadership team is on the same page. You all need to be walking in lockstep, where everyone understands what's being said, why it's being said, and most importantly, how it's being said. You want to remain calm and clear. But Dave, right now more than ever, people need a guide. People need information to be able to follow through this unprecedented time.
Well, this is what you and I do. Chris and I have been leadership teachers for a couple decades. Our leadership events are world-renowned. They're some of the top events in the world. Entre Leadership Summit is probably the premier leadership event on the planet right now. It's absolutely incredible. And so we're very, very proud of the fact that we've gotten to walk beside small business people of all kinds. And the same thing goes for you right now. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a couple of free, outline that word free, tools for you right now. One of the things we developed in Entre Leadership, all under this vein of communication, was the weekly report tool. Now, we typically charge for that. It's under a paid, behind a paid curtain normally when you're a member of one of our paid subscription products. But right now, we're making the weekly report tool free for you because you need to hear from your team. And that your team can go through and fill out a very simple thing very quickly, and it gives you an instantaneous dashboard on how the morale is doing, how the stress is doing, how the workload is doing of each team member, a place for them to comment their weekly highs, weekly lows. It is an incredible tool. I can go through 936 of them, which is what I've got right now, in about 30 or 45 minutes. I don't look at every single note of every one, but if somebody's got a red face on there, meaning they're really having a bad time with a certain area, stress or morale or workload, I can click on that. It'll do a drop-down box, and I see all their comments. And I can do that for my whole company of almost 1,000 people. And each of my leaders get fed the reports from their layer all the way through the place. And so we can hear from the team. It gives us the opportunity to adjust our communication to the team to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. The second thing we've done is we put up a job board. With the current crisis right now, a lot of people have lost their jobs. This week, Macy's laid off 100,000 people. That just blows my mind. Marriott, we work with Marriott a lot, good company. They laid off 10,000 in one wave, and they're probably going to do another 10,000 pretty quick because the hotel business is just getting hammered. Retail is getting hammered, and so a lot of those folks are on the street. Some of you have had to lay some people off. Some of you are hiring like crazy. So what I want you to do is the folks over at the Ken Coleman Show have built a job board where those of you that have jobs available, you can email us. We'll help you get, or we can email you. We'll get it set up. You can get a link, and you can post your jobs there. People who are looking for jobs can go in there and look for jobs, and they can post that they're looking for jobs as well. And it's a completely free service. It's a little primitive. We just stood it up. Like this week, we're pivoting and trying to serve in these stress areas right now for you guys. So, and it's free, so shut up, okay? It's just primitive. That's the way it is. You're going to do it. You're going to love it. It's going to be okay. So the thing is this, EntreLeadership.com/hope is where you go. Entre Leadership, entrepreneurism and leadership combined. EntreLeadership.com/hope. And if you go there, you can find all of this stuff on the webpage. You can find about the weekly report tool. You can find about the job boards, and it'll connect you over to the Ken Coleman stuff. It does every single bit of that. The other thing you can do is you can text the phrase "Get Hope," no spaces, no dashes, no slashes. Get Hope to 44222. We love small businesses at Ramsey. The Entre Leadership brand is all about helping you, whether you've got 2 team members or you've got 200. The proper hiring, the proper firing, the proper care of your team, your customers, innovating, dealing with market disruptions, even dealing with a pandemic of a virus, and a pandemic of the fear associated with it, and a pandemic of the shutdown associated with it, which is affecting more people now than the virus. As of this moment, 100 people have lost their jobs for every single case of coronavirus out there. And so by far the economic implications of the virus at this moment are affecting more families than the actual virus. Both are scary and both are legitimate. But you really, when you're running a business, you're starting to see how this stuff is affecting and how these things are interlaced. So we're here. We're here to help you. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be okay. Lead with kindness. Lead with compassion, lead with calmness, and lead with making the tough decisions. That will allow you to survive and allow you to provide the service and provide the jobs out the other side of this. Don't be afraid to make the call. Don't get paralysis of the analysis. But also, don't extend negative projections that are not yet a reality. Don't overcorrect and oversteer. So just stay right with where you are, watch what you're doing, and based on the actual facts that are in front of you, then make the decisions. We won't be doing preemptive layoffs or preemptive furloughs. We will be doing those because the revenue and the expenses line has crossed. And if that crosses, our team knows that long before then we will have let them know. Lots of communication, lots of steadiness at the wheel. You got this, and we're going to walk with you. Check out EntreLeadership.com/hope for continual updates. Chris, thanks for joining me on this today.
Dave, thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Hogan. I am Dave Ramsey.